It's not October, it's not November, but it is the Dogs traveling to Knoxville as the number 15 Tennessee Volunteers seek to knock off Georgia in what is sure to be a slobber knocker of a match. I'm Keegan, my co-host is Chito, and this is Dawgs Off the Leash.
We've been waiting for the showdown. We've been waiting for.
Finally, a real test. The cupcakes, that sugar was sweet. I'm getting the sweetness out of my blood. I'm walking it off. I'm doing what I can. But Georgia's playing Tennessee, and Cheeto, I have just one question to ask you. What the hell is a hobnail boot? What is that?
Yeah,
Like actually, like what is a hobnail boot?
it's kind of like maybe a cleat. Just a cleat with spikes through the bottom. Versus is that kind of not what the?
I don't know. I'm sorry to
That's
put
the
you
way
on
I've
the
always
spot.
kind of
But I
imagined.
mean, I think it's a cool thing, but I don't even think it exists in reality. That's like a thumbtack sneaker up your nose. It's like, what is he actually saying? But hey,
Like old school baseball, sliding in the second. You put your spikes up, so you alter the throw to first or whatever. That's kind of what I've always imagined it being.
I mean, maybe that's what it is. Maybe that's what it is. But I just think he was just like on one, maybe, yeah, something. But dude, it's always been a big week. But Cheeto, where is your mind's eye? I was reading your article on dogsofftheleash.com, and how do
Hey,
how do you feeling about Georgia facing Tennessee and just the overall history that this game means to you and a good portion of Dog Nation, especially those up in North Georgia?
yeah, for those people who love to go round and round about Georgia's official rivals, I've never really considered Tennessee one, but it is a rival when you talk about how the SEC East used to be set up, right? For us, you have Florida, you have Auburn, you have Tech, the go tos. You have Clemson, that was an older rival, but it just got renewed in recent years. But when you grow up in this part of Georgia, that's just something that you get really accustomed to from a very early age. And whether it's the orange that you hate or how bad we got dominated in the early years, I talked about that in my article. Like, it used to suck having to pull up the Monday after just getting whooped by Tennessee and just having to hear these ball fans go crazy. And they still talk like that now. They still talk like that now. Like, they're the most decorated fan base that you've ever seen. And you got to love them, got to hate them a little bit. I have several really good friends that are Vols fans. So it's like, and we both hate Alabama at the moment and other teams, but it's like you respect the team, but you love to hate them at the same time. So I get really up for these games. I'm in Chattanooga now, which gives it a whole different angle. So it's a game for me. It's probably my favorite game, even though I don't consider it a bona fide rivalry.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's a very geographically based thing because it's based on who you're going to see. Like these are the people that you will be going back and forth with. And Bama hasn't been like one of our true rivals. Ask any Bama fan living in Georgia, or for that matter, if you're in any SEC state, so to speak, and your team is not the team in that state, you're going to have a hard time with your neighbors just in a bragging rights sense. Hopefully, we can all have peace. But it's pretty cool to have experienced it firsthand. And I got a story to tell you. And if you've been a long time listener of the podcast, hopefully you don't mind hearing it again. I promise you it's been refined, but it's really my Georgia fan sports origin story. So gather around the fireside chat, you know, pop a cold one because
Papa Cola, man.
it's about to be one. We're on the precipice right now of a 9-game winning streak. But when I became a fan for Georgia, just so y'all know, I didn't hop on no bandwagon. It was on the precipice of a 10-game losing streak, and Georgia was already quite aware and had fully fulfilled the 9-game losing streak. So that's where it all started. And as a younger kid, I probably spent, however, first many years of my life, first 7 years, maybe I had a Georgia shirt. I remember watching moments of a game here and there. This stuff was all around me, but I was more interested in toys, wrestling, all things probably but Georgia football. there was a moment in time where I could tell that all these Georgia loving football people were just hyped about this game like no other. Leading up to it, I know my dad was kind of like hush hush, like his energy was a little bit different. I was like, he's not usually like this about a football game. All the people at this get together that they brought me to were all extra excited. Normally, I'd probably want to put on Willy Wonka on the back room or something. Willy Wonka was my shit, and I ducked some Georgia games initially, but I was not feeling it this particular Saturday. The Keister is going to plop right down in front of the TV, and I'm going to join these adults, see what it's all about. So it started off a little bit rough. Georgia immediately punts the ball, and all the adults are like, well, here we go. Jim Donnan's done it again. We got to get rid of this guy. 3 and out. Tennessee comes down the field, almost immediately fumbles the ball. Georgia's able to capitalize. There's hope. We're up fucking 7-0. Okay. It ends up going 7-3, a defensive match. Eventually, Georgia squanders their first half lead. They're down 10-7. Hope is basically lost in the living room at this point. The adults are pissed. We're losing to Tennessee a 10th time in a row. Philip Fulmer's just got our number. And then Quincy Carter, Terrence Edwards have their heroic plays. They do what they need to do. They drive the ball down the field. We punch it in. Now, at this point in time, this was really RBU, but Quincy Carter and Terrence Edwards were really like setting the stages for later greatness at the quarterback and receiver position. So this was kind of a glimpse of what we would later see. Looking back, especially now, I can see I did not know that then when I was 8. But anyway, so we end up with the lead. It's a defensive slobber knock most of the third quarter. It's back and forth. And then finally, Georgia, late in the fourth, probably about the middle of the fourth quarter, has a chance to go up, kind of ice the game. And then they just feed Musa Smith. And for those who know, Musa was what you would hear in the stadium every time he got the ball. So Musa Smith was just a man on a mission. And he was a good running back, and he was already a fan favorite. With Vernon Haynes, I think ended up being an NFL Hall of Famer, as a fullback in front of Musa Smith. These two guys were beasts, mauling over Tennessee. They could not be stopped. It was like one of these D1 college players in a high school game, just unstoppable, marched all the way down the field. Georgia goes up 21-10, and that ends up being the final score. If y'all don't think it was a big deal, the Dogs rushed the field. They took down the goalpost. I don't even remember when the last time we took down the goalpost was, to be real. I'm sure we did it at some point, and I'm forgetting the great one. But I do remember we took down the goalpost, and that is the day I became a Georgia fan. So Tennessee is a big deal, and it was a big rivalry then because they were so dominant. And us North Georgia folk know that it's just back and forth with the Tennessee people. So that is my origin story. And I know, Chito, you've had a lifelong experience going back and forth with homies like Cam and all these other dudes that are, dyed in the orange, as they say. And you can't say you bleed red because everyone bleeds red. So you got to say you bleed red and black. But I know a lot of fellers out there that bleed orange. So
it's kind of nice to hear you walk down memory lane there, because there's a handful of Georgia fans that really don't understand the way this rivalry used to be. And if you look at kind of the series in which Georgia leads now, 29-23-2, Tennessee went on a great run back in the 90s. And then it was back and forth for a little bit until Kirby showed up, and he's really shut it down. I've been to Knoxville several times, and it's a weird thing to be able to wear a Georgia jersey in Neyland, and the opposing fans around you, they really can't say a whole lot because it's just like, what are they going to say? I'm not the type to talk crazy, but it's just like, they want to just engage you and just like, just get under your skin. But you just watch the football team. They're doing it for you. There's nothing else you can do. So yeah, it's a lot of fun. And going into this game on Saturday, there seems to be like a little bit of a vulnerable feel, at least from the national media's perspective, because Georgia has not put on a great showing in its first 2 games. You can argue, well, they're cupcakes and this and that, but the truth is, like, we haven't played our best football, right? Meanwhile, Tennessee has just been dumping on opponents. Syracuse in week 1 dropped 45 on them. And it's yet to be seen if Syracuse is as good as they were last year. It's starting to look like no. And then East Tennessee State comes in and they drop 72 on their head and 700 yards worth of offense. Like, it happens. We see 70 pointers in the early part of the season from time to time, but that's not an easy thing to do. That's not something you just sneeze at. You know what I mean? So right now, it does look like Tennessee is kind of on the up and up. Keegan, how are you feeling going into this game? Do you feel like there is some validity to way Tennessee faithful, Tennessee fans, Tennessee apologists feel about the game right now?
Absolutely. Tennessee has probably the best cast of athletes on the offensive side of the football they've ever had. That's something I really haven't heard this week. I've heard a lot about their defense, heard a lot about Joey Aguilar, heard about Josh Heupel, but to truth be told, like their offensive cast is the best it's been. Now, they've had one, two, maybe three guys in the past, but I think they have a solid like starting five, so to speak, now with different pieces they can move in. They just have a little bit more depth. Maybe not the top end quality, but more weapons. So I think they have some things that sets up well for them. Joey Aguilar is a veteran presence. Their defense is clicking. So by all means, yes, Tennessee hype is probably more legitimate now than ever. But we talk about the history of this game. It seems like no matter how good Tennessee is doing, and sometimes it's valid, sometimes it's overhyped. Shit, sometimes they're underhyped. It goes that way too. But regardless, Georgia really seems to bring their A game for Tennessee. By no means do we let the streak, at least to this point, seem to like seep in our psychology because we act like we act like we're trying to break a 9-game losing streak sometimes the way we come out and fight. And that shows by how we went on the road at Tennessee. But Neyland, 100,000 strong. It's one of only 8 stadiums in all of college football that have the 100K number. I think they beat Alabama by like 100 fans. I'm sure they probably added some seats when they saw Bama make a extension or something. But, you know, Tennessee's a big stadium. They're going to checker Neyland, right? But at the end of the day, it's got to be played on the grass. And Georgia has had their number, like you kind of talked about in your article, Chito. How would you like to see Georgia approach this game, given the new strengths that Tennessee does have this season?
Yeah, and to Tennessee's credit, I think early on in the Heupel era, we really thought of them as this high-flying, super-powered offense, right? But they've really kind of turned themselves into a team that stops the run and runs the ball really well. So Heupel has really kind of evolved as his teams have evolved, as college football as a whole has evolved as well. And to what you were saying, I think something that helps is that Kirby Smart knows this rivalry, air quotes, as good as anybody else. Not only is he a coach at Georgia, he played in this game and played a prominent role at one point. Same thing for Bobo. So when we talk about getting up for this game at Tennessee, who better than to get their team ready than 2 players that played in this game and either, you know, had a big win or suffered big losses during their time there. I don't think Kirby ever beat Tennessee in his tenure. So I promise you he don't like Tennessee. I can't speak for Bobo's record and all that. I'm not sure about that. But yeah, they're going to be ready. And what Georgia's going to need to do is a little bit of what they have done, but we are going to have to see Bobo stretch the field vertically. And I think this is the perfect weekend to do it. I talked about the injuries that Tennessee has right now. They're down 2 corners. Their star position player is Boo Carter from Chattanooga. He's going to be all over the field. You'll see him. They do not have corners that are ready to run with our 6'3", 6'4" wide receivers. And Noah Thomas and Colby Young have just been waiting for an opportunity just to go crazy. And I think this is going to be a breakout party for all involved, from Bobo to Gunner to all the wide receivers. And if it doesn't happen, then Tennessee's going to have a chance to win this game. But I really feel like this is a game Bobo is actually going to be celebrated because he's going to have every opportunity to drop 35 plus points at minimum. And this defense is going to show that they have been just as good as Tennessee in stopping the run through the first 2 games of the season. Completely appropriate.
Okay.
Completely appropriate.
Making bubble puns are in full effect. It's a lot easier to play on the road when the crowd's not in it. So if there's ever a time where we really could use a fast start, it is on the road in Knoxville in Neyland Stadium. Because even though Gunner is someone I have a lot of confidence in, he's still really not had an SEC road test, which is a real test for any quarterback. So just like any real test, you don't know how you're going to do until after you have taken said test. Now, you can prepare all you want to, but the test will test you, right? And
guess who else? Guess who else is from North Georgia? Gunner Stockton. Listen,
okay.
listen to me. Gunner is ready for this moment. He is capable. I talked in the article again about man coverage. I think this really sets up. It's a bad matchup for Tennessee, man. I'm telling you, everything that we do well, they're going to struggle against, and everything that they do well, we're actually pretty elite at stopping up to this point. It's going to have to come down to turnovers. It's going to have to come from some special wrinkle or some special player over there at Tennessee. I don't know where that's going to come from. It's possible, but I mean, just trying to call a spade now, it's not going to start in Tennessee's favor. They're going to have to really take this one from the Dogs.
That's true. And the recipe for Georgia snapping the losing streak is exactly what Tennessee would need to lean into to snap their losing streak. Turnovers, a fumble interception in that game many years back. If we got a fumble and interception in this game and a back and forth close one, that's going to give an edge to a Tennessee team, like you said, that's deadly and really does a lot of the things we do well. But they do have like seniority on their side, and that is like a deciding factor. They're in Tennessee, so all these things add up. But I was thinking, we played Texas twice last year. Could have played them 3 times. If Tennessee is as good as they potentially are, this could be a rematch type of game where we see them in this new SEC championship style where the best 2 teams go, or in the playoffs, because they are a playoff team. And, that is kind of the thing that Kirby led with in the presser is he's like, well, they're a playoff team from last year, which is kind of like, we say what we want to about this rivalry, but Tennessee has slowly been catching up to us. Maybe not caught up to us, but they're catching up to us, right? And maybe that there's a difference, and maybe all these weapons have kept us a step ahead of them that we brought in the offseason. But I will say this. For a guy named Gunner, our dude, our QB1, he's got to be better at pulling the trigger. If we have vanilla play on the offense and timid decision-making at quarterback, it will take an elite defense and elite special teams to carry this team. Now, lucky for us, we really might have elite defense, elite special teams to have mild offensive play in a timid quarterback. But that's what it'll take. And for the top-level teams, maybe we eke out another great but not what we quite wanted type of season with that formula. That could be the one that gets us to a playoff contention spot, at least the SEC championship appearance. But, there's some really good teams in college football right now, and I don't know if we can take that next step without Gunner being a little bit more decisive when he sees guys down the field. And I think now is the time to open up the playbook and let Gunner actually let it fly, because we've seen it happen. And Carson played timid last year. We talked about him having the Carson jitters. It was a whole thing on our podcast. Gunner's playing a little bit timid now. And I just want to apologize to both of these guys, honestly, because I contribute to the pressure. I got high expectations. I want natty after natty after natty. And I'm sorry. I'm sorry, because I'm adding to the pressure. I really am. I think we all do this as fans, but it's being the quarterback at the University of Georgia, and it comes with pressure. Now, for the right ones, pressure makes diamonds. Jake Fromm stepped in as a freshman, did his thing. Stetson Bennett came in clutch at certain moments, even in games where he struggled, clutch in certain moments. I think Gunner, I know for me, when I played football, sometimes when I played football, I'd be shitting, having vomits. Like, I was nervous before games, but I think sometimes just getting that first hit really can kind of settle you in. We saw how Gunner reacted when he laid his shoulder down in the Texas game. The team rallied around him. It was like an epic moment, but I don't know if we can risk our QB1 laying hits to get his mind right. So I suggest potentially they're legal in college football. Look this up, smelling salts and the potential cold plunge, whatever it takes to release the inner warrior for Gunner to pull his trigger, because that's what it's going to take for the Dogs to take a tit-for-tat team in Knoxville. If Tennessee comes out sloppy, maybe we can have the mild offense and the timid QB play. But if we're going to take a hardcore Tennessee team that might finally be as good as they say, it's going to take Gunner pulling the trigger.
I went back and I wanted to see what Carson Beck did in 2024. He was 25 of 40 for 347 yards and 2 touchdowns. I think that we're going to get to see the gamer and Gunner this week. And I think that he can definitely maybe not match that volume, because I don't think that we'll need him to with his legs and the running game. But I would definitely love to see like a 20 of 30 or 21 of 30, 300 passing yards without the corners there to really put pressure on his wide receivers. 2 passing touchdowns and 1 rushing touchdown, just kind of given where Carson Beck was last year. I think it's definitely possible. And I think this is going to be one of those moments for Gunner. For my gamers out there, you know the meme where you've got somebody playing Xbox or PlayStation, they're leaning back, and then the game gets real and they lean forward. I think we're going to get this from Gunner Stockton this weekend. I think these cupcakes have really just put him in the right mental space. I've heard reports about how he is a perfectionist. I get that way sometimes. Like, I hate being bad at things. So if it means I got to rep it out until I get it right, I will do it until my nose bleeds. And Gunner Stockton is the same way, just a perfectionist. He's a coach's kid. He knows what it takes. And I think this is going to be a great opportunity for him. And going back to Kirby's presser, he mentioned Joey Aguilar. And I think that we definitely need to give this guy some credit, because when all this stuff with Nico happened in the offseason, I really thought this was going to be the easiest win in Georgia's early schedule, because that's a hard thing to overcome for a program, for a quarterback that it's gone. You're bringing this new guy, but Joey has been absolutely spinning it. Kirby mentioned he gets the ball out quick. He's accurate. He has some mobility, and he's been really good with his deep ball. You mentioned, Keegan, their offensive weapons. The running backs are going to be a key to this game. They've got 2 of them, and they're studs, especially Bishop, who walked on. He has been just lighting it up all season. So it's not going to be this high power type of game. This is going to be a physical game at the line of scrimmage, as SEC play often is, and that's where this game is going to be won or lost. And for a Georgia team coming into the year that had questions on its defensive line, I think this is a great, great test to start SEC play on the road. We're going to go to a bye week next week before Alabama comes into town, and we'll see how all of that lines up as well. So turnovers, obviously, especially being on the road, stopping the run and running the ball is what I think this game is ultimately going to come down to. And yeah, we're going to see Gunner the gamer. I think it's as simple as that.
I hope we do see Gunner the gamer. I like how you put that. I think he just needs to loosen up in the same sense, like focus, but don't be so focused that you're playing tight, because if you're playing tight, you're playing scared, and playing scared just isn't going to help you pull the trigger. So I think Gunner's like, and maybe that's it for Gunner, because he is that kind of perfectionist personality. He's coming so correct. He's so on top of things that maybe he does need to loosen up. Like, he could be potentially so leaned in, playing devil's advocate here. The metaphorical chill pill is what he actually needs. I don't know. So I'll just say this. When I did play them in NCAA, Joey Aguilar was a weapon, dicing it up. So when he's able to spread you out, when they're able to put all these deep routes, underneath routes, everybody's every which way. If we don't have some sort of spy here and there, you can't maybe do it the whole game, but that's a factor of the game that we've actually practiced the last 2 weeks, because both quarterbacks we've played have been a little bit mobile. So I do think that sets up well for Georgia's defense. We have the speed to run down a Joey Aguilar. Yeah, in NCAA, there were 2 runs. I think he had a 60-yarder on me one time where there was just nothing I could do. He had nothing but grass. So he's not someone we can give that much field to and not pay for it. So hopefully we don't have to talk about that on our Sunday Scaries episode, but that is a real threat, and he's a dynamic player. He has a lot of the qualities that Stetson Bennett had, being a veteran dude that went elsewhere to get playing time. And when you have that kind of deadly combination of leadership skills, the game reps, speaking of, getting things right, that's what makes Joey dangerous. So they're a real test for Georgia. It'll be a great game. Chito, do you have a score prediction for our Dogs?
I got 2 predictions, matter of fact. I want to say this on record, because I've been on record really kind of leaning into Bobo. And again, some of it's his own fault. But I think Bobo is going to run a fake bubble screen for a touchdown here in the next 3-4 weeks, whether it's Tennessee, Bama, or Texas. And it's actually legit play. You have your wide receivers go out like they're about to block for that third guy. and then he slips out and goes deep. I think he's setting it up. There's got to be some reason he keeps doing this. But as far as the game score, I would like to see 40, but I think Tennessee's defense has earned the respect to hold us under that right now. But I am going to go 38 points for the Dogs versus 17 for Tennessee, and a pretty solid victory in Neyland Stadium.
It's not that they can't do it, but maybe this is the game where we start to have more faith in Georgia's offense because Tennessee's defense is legit. So with that, give me Dogs on top 31-13 in Neyland Stadium.
So, Keegan, with college game day being in Knoxville this week, obviously that is the game that we are going to be paying attention to, but so is the nation. But don't let that fool you. There are several sneaky games this week. Keegan, do you want to start us off for our pick six? For our pick six in week 3.
For this week's pick six with the fixes.
With the fixes.
You weren't even trying to do that, but this, I don't know. We'll have to keep this. But yeah, number 12 Clemson traveling to Atlanta to play the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets, who have been bringing the sting. We saw them last year take us to the Hateful Eight, and Haynes King is a hell of a player. Just a ball player, right? He just get the ball down the field and knock you silly. That's Haynes King. He does what he needs to do. He's a dangerous weapon and a leader. So, with that, Clemson's in trouble, dude. They went down 16-0 against Troy at home. They have not looked like a team that is just as well coached as they used to be. Like, I don't want to make it about what Dabo's not, but maybe it's just about the parity in college football, and it's just hard to maintain the mountaintop. And the ACC specifically used to be so much softer. It is not right now. It's a little bit better. So I like Georgia Tech to definitely 100% push Clemson, but I have no reason to not pick Georgia Tech on the football field unless Clemson just turns it on, which they could. I got Georgia Tech winning this one in a close one. Chito, how do you feel about the Tigers? No, wait, not the Louisiana Tigers. The Tigers traveling to Georgia Tech.
Yeah, I think this is another one of those perfect scenarios in the ACC. Georgia Tech is a real team. They've got Clemson at home. They've got not one, but 2 quarterbacks where they can kind of switch things up. Haynes King, you've talked about. And Clemson, while I think they're going to be a good team, this is just one of those that they usually lose in the latest kind of version of what Clemson has become in recent years. Give me Tech as well.
Yeah, and if opportunity mode, come in, make a statement, dominate a good Georgia Tech team. Georgia Tech has just looked legit. The Florida Gators are traveling with a chance to rebound against the number 3 LSU Tigers, who just beat Clemson. They're up big, ranked in the top 3 for the first time in a little second now. So can the Gators knock off LSU, my friend? Do you have a rebound match for Billy Napes?
Looking at that Florida schedule for the next 4 or 5 games, one of the tougher schedules that you're ever going to see. I expect LSU to listen. If Florida can grow a little bit, maybe they can make it interesting, but they seem to be that team that makes dumb mistakes at really dumb times, lose games for the dumbest reasons. If you're not disciplined enough to fix that, you're going to struggle, especially with the schedule they got coming up. I feel safe going LSU here.
Yeah, I'm going to go LSU, but I will say that Florida is a fighting, prideful, pretty talented football team that could push here. And let's bring it back to the Georgia-Tennessee rivalry, quote unquote. Last time Tennessee did have us, it was that Hail Mary game with who other than Butch Jones. So, a team in a downhill slide with a coach that's kind of struggling on the hot seat sometimes can pull off a winner on the road even. So I think Florida pushes here, but yeah, give me LSU. Chito, what you got on some games?
A couple games that I'm going to be watching. I want to see if Bama can maintain this crazy game they had last week. They're hosting Wisconsin. I'm going to take them in that game. And then a game I'm really locked in on is USF. These Florida teams battling has been fun to watch. And if you haven't been keeping up, South Florida knocked off Boise State to start, and then Florida last week. That front 7, that defensive line is getting after quarterbacks. And one thing that we know about Carson Beck, though he can run a little bit. If you get him off of his spot, he can be turnover prone. I'm calling the upset against Miami. I think South Florida is a matchup nightmare for a team like Miami. Miami's at home, so it is going to be tough, and it's going to take more of an effort than what they had against Florida. But that rush up front is going to change this game in South Florida's favor. Give me the Bulls.
Okay, well, see, South Florida is a damn good team. Beating two ranked teams, probably maybe deserving to be ranked is something. And I think they're a playoff contender from what the group of five. But Miami, I think, will just be a little bit better.
I was just going to add, think about their resume if they beat Miami. That's the best resume in the country. So if they win, if they beat Miami, they're in the playoffs, given that they don't just completely implode. Because at least up to this point, 3 ranked teams, bop, bop, bop. Not too shabby.
Yeah, I would say I'm in the category of fan right now. Of course, I'm a dog, but like I'm rooting for them. With that, I think that Miami is just a little bit too good. So I'm taking Miami. Give me South Florida pushing to the end of the whistle. And I like what you said about the matchup mess with Carson Beck and the rush. Now he can pick you apart if you're not on it, but I think Miami actually has one of the better offensive lines, and they have a coach in Crystal Ball who actually was a former lineman. So that is like always an emphasis of his teams. So I don't necessarily see it being like a matchup nightmare, but it's definitely like the matchup to watch. Crystal Ball's offensive lineman versus the pass rush, which has been killing it. So it will be the story of the game. But yeah, give me Miami in that one. And then just to add, I think Wisconsin will probably lose at Bama, but Wisconsin's better. Nebraska's damn good. They were close in that game. I actually called Wisconsin at home to win, but I think Wisconsin's like the best team Bama's going to play so far. Maybe. I mean, maybe Florida State's like the real deal Holyfield, but I think Wisconsin's good. So give me Bama, but Wisconsin pushing there, at least the entertaining game. And then another big matchup, and this is the last game I got here. Number 16, Texas A&M at Notre Dame. Chito, can the Fighting Irish prove some legitimacy with another big victory over an SEC opponent, or is Texas A&M getting slept on in 2025?
They need it. This is a bounce back opportunity from Notre Dame. I think they were off last week, right? So they're still 0-1, if I'm not mistaken. Still number 8, hosting Texas A&M. This is really going to be an opportunity for the team to show us, do they trust Carr, their quarterback, right? Opportunity for him to get settled in. You've got the best running back in college football in Jeremiah Love. You've still got a great defense who's coached very, very well. So I think this is the start for them. This is either Notre Dame is a playoff contender again, or they've taken a step back. So I'm going to go Notre Dame here. I just think it's time for them to really get their season started up to this point.
Okay, I like what you're saying there. I think Texas A&M goes in and at least pushes Notre Dame, and honestly, I'm just not seeing anything yet from Notre Dame to beat Texas A&M. Give me a really close one, Texas A&M. So give me Texas A&M winning by a football nose on that one.
Okay, yeah, you got A&M, I got Notre Dame, and then last but not least, Vandy travels to Columbia, South Carolina, where two teams who are usually regarded as underdogs come in with the same style of play. Both have mobile QBs that are just lighting up college football. We know the year that Vandy had last year. The defense for South Carolina, to me, I think is the difference that tips the scale. At home, you know they're going to be jumping around, doing their thing. Give me South Carolina to pull out a win, but in a really close game. I think Vandy has something going. I want to see how real they are, though.
And that's the crazy thing, because if Vandy goes in there and beats South Carolina, man, like this Vandy team is on a historic run for Vandy. In a lot of ways, there's no reason that Vandy shouldn't be more of a story because of how bad they have been and how good they currently are just on this stretch. So
just for that simple fact,
like the change of direction, the stark contrast. So if they could beat another team in the top 20, top 15, probably should be in the top 10, because like South Carolina, like you said, probably best offensive player, probably best defensive player. I can tell you from the video game perspective, that is the case. They're a fun team to play with, and I broke hearts and took souls playing in the third tier against one tiers as South Carolina because they're like, oh, a third tier team, and they didn't know yet. They had to find out the hard way about Lenore Sellers. I've been telling people you can be dog ass on the game, and he's still going to break you like 3 tackles a game because he's just like OP when it comes to the break tackle. But in real life, too, Lenore Sellers is that dude. He needs his Heisman moments to win his Heisman, and like it's going to be him and Mateer. They're going to probably have to like do a coin flip or something for this year's Heisman because both those dudes are ballers. But yeah, I think South Carolina's got it. I just don't see Vandy being that good. But how could you not think Vandy's a threat? Like they've just been doing so much right, and this coach is someone that like Bama should be looking at. If he can do this with Vandy, I hate to say it. I mean, don't listen to this podcast. Ignore my advice here. But like, if he can do this with Vandy, what could he do with the resource?
This is not financial advice. You got to say that so you don't get sued if it don't work out. I mean, listen, it's Clark Lee too, if I'm not mistaken. I think the game, I don't mind him getting credit. I don't mind Beamer getting credit. But also we got to pay attention to what college football has become now, right? You can change your whole team in one offseason with a new offensive coordinator and a good QB. So I won't go as far as saying Bama should look at him next, but hey, they're playing really good ball, and we'll see how the season works out. And maybe that is the case. I'll just put that disclaimer in there just to protect you, my dog. I got you.
Appreciate that. And who does like the new NIL transfer portal era help more than a team like Vandy? You can play in the SEC.
Exactly.
We were good last year, proof of concept. Mm-hmm. Like Vandy's never been this sexy of a place to play. We're in Nashville. I mean, come on. Like this is like
yeah.
Hey, and they're saying they're the best team in Tennessee 2 years running. So
they might be. They might be. We're going to find out a lot about both of these Tennessee teams starting on Saturday. So it'll be nice when we get to recap on our Sunday Scary. And then before we get too far into the weekend, we got Thursday night football, Mr. Keys. We have got the Washington Commanders traveling to Lambeau Field to take on the Packers, who I'm going to put this out here too. I'm going Packers versus Bills in the Super Bowl right now. I really love what these teams have done. The addition of Micah Parsons to this defense screams what the Packers did when they got, I want to say it's Reggie White. Correct me if I'm wrong, back in the day when they went on their run. Same type of thing. Jordan Love is growing up in front of our eyes. The Bills, obviously we saw what they did to the Ravens, who is also going to contend for the Super Bowl. But I really love these teams. Keegan, do you have any dogs in this fight fantasy-wise with the Commanders traveling to Green Bay?
Well, yeah, I got the kicker. Matt Gay.
You got the kicker. Okay, cool. I got Austin Eckler. I want to play him. I'm kind of scared with the way that defense looked last week. Either way, it's nice to have football back in full swing. We got where you get it Monday night football, Thursday night football, obviously Sunday, and then it starts all over. So I'm going to go with the Packers here. Don't really care either way, but should be a good game.
Packers winning? Taking Jaden Daniels?
I got Packers. I got Packers winning at home with their defense against Jaden Daniels, one of the best quarterbacks in the league. Absolutely. I think
Jaden Daniels is just that good. Like it's like when Georgia
That's cool.
Like when Georgia had its historic defense, but Tua just like turned it on in certain moments where we just couldn't do anything. Like it's almost like that, I think, with Jaden Daniels. But I'll just say this for our Falcons fans out there, and I know there's a lot of us. It was a very disappointing game. I'm almost just worried about Young Waku. Like no lie, on a personal note, dude. If you're out there, I hope you're all right. We love you, bro. But if not, we need to get a kicker with like the good mentality because he's just seemed to be like struggling. He's a damn good skilled kicker, but in those pressure moments, I couldn't do it. But Young Waku kind of dropped the ball for us there. I think the Falcons are a good team. Tampa Bay looks like a top 10 team. Baker Mayfield was already getting MVP nominations before the season started because he'd just been growing and growing. So let's like all the Falcons fans who are already saying we should tank because I've already heard that.
Stop that.
Falcons fans are like we're just a traumatized fan base. But Michael Penix had his moments to really.
We talked about this. It's gonna be the Bucs and Atlanta all the way to the end. You lost the first one. You remember last year? You beat them twice and they still won the division. So don't overreact. It's gonna be neck and neck. These two teams are very talented. You've got all the weapons. Penix played pretty well for the most part. Give it some time. This is a good team. Don't jump ship yet. That's a tough loss, but it's Atlanta. You're used to that. Relax. You're used to that. Stop.
They're ready. They're ready to like just overboard. But yeah, even Kyle Pitts was catching passes. So that is progress if I've ever seen it. And Falcons still look good. We got to use Jalen Walker better though. But yeah, it's going to be a great weekend in Knoxville. Thank you guys for listening. Definitely follow, subscribe, like us everywhere. And hey, go Dogs. Y'all be safe if you're traveling up to Tennessee, and we'll catch you on Sunday.
Yeah, and check out the articles. We got 2 new posted to the website, and we will get back with you for the Sunday recap. And we're going to find out real quick who's going to be singing Rocky Top come Sunday. Dawg Nation, always a blast. Keegan, really appreciate you, man. And as always, guys, make sure you catch us wherever you get your podcasts, whether that is Spotify or Apple. And as always, guys, you know what it is.
Off the leash.
Off the leash.
Do it for the dogs. Do it for the dogs. I do it for the dogs.